क्या कोई वो पंडित है?
हेलो सर।
So, good morning to you all. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Good morning, students. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
सर आपसे एक चीज पूछनी थी सर.
Wait. एक second.
ओके सर.
हाँ, यस पूछिए।
सर जैसे सर हमारे फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में एक्सटर्नल्स के लिए पैटर्न फॉलो हुआ था कि अगर यूनिट 1 में 2 पार्ट्स हैं तो पहला पार्ट और दूसरा पार्ट के बीच में और होता था कि मतलब दोनों में से कोई भी एक हमें पेपर में अटेम्प्ट करने होते थे. तो सर यही सेम पैटर्न इस बार भी फॉलो होगा कि एक
हाँ,
यूनिट के
सेम
2
पैटर्न ही
पार्ट्स हैं.
होगा। यस यस
ठीक
यस।
है. ठीक है सर. थैंक यू.
क्वेश्चन
यही
नंबर
पूछना.
1 आपका क्वेश्चन जनरली क्या होता है कि क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 आपका कंपलसरी होता है, जिस क्वेश्चन
हाँ
नंबर
जी.
1 में आपके 25 मार्क्स का क्वेश्चन होंगे उसके अंदर। तो उसमें आपके 5 क्वेश्चन भी हो सकते हैं, 10 भी हो सकते हैं, दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन एग्जामिनर। उसके बाद में फिर जो आपके क्वेश्चंस होंगे, टोटल क्वेश्चंस 8 होंगे या 5 होंगे, व्हाटएवर इट इज, हर क्वेश्चन में आपको एक ऑप्शन मिलेगा, दोनों में से एक करना होगा। हर क्वेश्चन में
ओके
से
सर.
मिलना चाहिए इस बार। और क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 इज टोटल ऑल टुगेदर जो क्वेश्चंस होंगे वो आपके एक क्वेश्चन 12.5 मार्क्स का होगा। ठीक है, तो
ओके सर.
उस हिसाब से आप
यस.
75 का देख लीजिए।
ओके सर.
हम्म।
सर हम 7th और 8th प्रैक्टिकल करेंगे?
7th और 8th प्रैक्टिकल, हाँ बिल्कुल करेंगे। 7th और 8th प्रैक्टिकल्स करेंगे बिल्कुल। टोटल 8 प्रैक्टिकल करेंगे हम, 8 प्रैक्टिकल्स करेंगे। और अभी मैं फिर सबको फिर अनाउंस कर देता हूँ कि टोटल हम 6 प्रैक्टिकल्स कर चुके हैं। तो अपनी नोटबुक में 6 के 6 प्रैक्टिकल्स आप लिख लीजिए। और जो बाकी स्टार्टिंग के जो फर्स्ट 4 एक्सपेरिमेंट हैं उसकी जो कट ऑफ डेट थी वो कल थी, जो ओवर हो चुकी है। ठीक है। और अभी मंडे तक मैंने बोला था देने के लिए, सेकंड आपने एक्सटेंड कराई थी 11 से, तो कल हो गई है। तो फर्स्ट 4 एक्सपेरिमेंट की और नेक्स्ट 2 एक्सपेरिमेंट की जो कट ऑफ डेट है वो मैंने रखी है, कब रखी है? 17 की नाइट तक है उसका टाइम। वो तब तक आप 5 और 6 भी कर लीजिए, फिर देन आई विल इवेलुएट। इसको मैं इवेलुएट कर दूंगा फर्स्ट 4 को, और उसके बाद में देन विल डू 7 एंड 8 आल्सो। ठीक है, तो नेक्स्ट क्लास में हम 7 और 8 एक्सपेरिमेंट भी कर लेंगे। नाउ टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू स्टडी दी यूनिट 5 में जो इम्पोर्टेंट पार्ट है दैट इज द ट्रांसड्यूसर। सो आज हम ट्रांसड्यूसर के बारे में पढ़ेंगे। दिस इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग पोर्शन ऑफ आवर सिलेबस एंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पोर्शन आल्सो। तो यहाँ आपको बहुत सारी चीजें बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट और बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें नजर आएंगी जो आपके डे टू डे यूज में प्रयोग होती हैं, यूज में आती हैं। ठीक है, तो first let us see the introduction to the transducer. So what do you mean by the transducer? Basically, transducer is a device that converts the one type of energy to the another. That is the basic definition of the transducer, कि एक प्रकार के एनर्जी को दूसरे प्रकार के एनर्जी में कन्वर्ट करना को ट्रांसड्यूसर का काम होता है। बेसिकली देयर आर टू टर्म्स, आपने सुना होगा, देयर इज ए ट्रांसड्यूसर एंड सेंसर्स। Okay. Now, what is the difference between sensor and transducer? Is the sensor is a basically primary component which sends the input signal and just give to the circuit, give to the another part of the circuit. वहां से इनपुट को सेंस करेगा। सपोज देयर इज a pressure sensor, so that pressure sensor is basically the checking the pressure and converting into the equivalent electrical signal. So that is the role of a sensor. Now, what is the transducer? Transducer is basically the sensor is the integral part of the transducer. तो सेंसर जो होता है वो ट्रांसड्यूसर का इंटीग्रल पार्ट होता है। तो द सेकंड पॉइंट इज दैट द इनपुट ट्रांसड्यूसर इज कॉल्ड द सेंसर। तो सेंसर का जो इनपुट में जो होता है दैट इज कॉल्ड द सेंसर। ट्रांसड्यूसर के जो इनपुट जो पार्ट होता है ट्रांसड्यूसर का दैट इज कॉल्ड सेंसर। सो द आउटपुट ट्रांसड्यूसर इज कॉल्ड द एक्चुएटर। तो ये आप ब्लॉक डायग्राम देख सकते हैं। सो देयर इज ए माइक्रोफोन, देयर इज ए एम्पलीफायर एंड देयर इज ए स्पीकर। तो जब हम लोग लाउड स्पीकर में बोलते हैं, जस्ट ए मिनट, सॉरी, I have not changed this slide. Sorry. This is so this I am discussing basically. I am discussing about the transducer here. So transducer is a device that converts one type of energy to another, and that is the input. Transducer is called the sensor. So as I was telling you, the sensor is the input part of the transducer. तो यहाँ आप ब्लॉक डायग्राम देख सकते हैं ट्रांसड्यूसर का. तो दिस ट्रांसड्यूसर कंसिस्ट ऑफ ए माइक्रोफोन, then amplifier, then loudspeaker. So when we are speaking on a loudspeaker, so the first input, the first sensing a device or microphone. So when we talk in front of the microphone, so what happened? The microphone basically converts my uh, the the waves, my sound waves, which are continuously generating the crest and trough. And my pressure is varying in front of the microphone when I speaks. So that pressure is basically checked by the microphone, and that microphone consists of a piezoelectric crystals. So these piezoelectric crystals basically check the pressure, and according to the pressure they convert my voice into the electrical signal. And that amplitude of this electrical signal is very small inside the microphone, and that amplitude is basically given to the that voltage, which is very small at the output of microphone, is given to the amplifier. That amplifier amplifies that voltage to the very good level, of the amplifier is then given to the speaker, and speaker basically produces the sound. And so whatever I am speaking in front of the microphone, that same voice is heard in a louder voice, okay, in a louder pitch from the loudspeaker. So this entire the system inside the rectangular block is known as the transducer. Understood? I think you would have understood the sensor also. The sensor is the integral part of this. So the input transducer is the sensor, and the output transducer is the actuator. So here loudspeaker is a actuator, and the microphone is a sensor here in this case. So this is the basic block diagram of a transducer. So let us understand the input and output of a transducer. So this is the input part. The left side is the input part, that is the microphone, and right side is your output part, that is the actuator, which is a speaker of a transducer. बीच में amplifier को हमने छोड़ दिया है. So first of all, basically let us understand what this microphone consists of. So as you can see here, when the sound waves comes, so this microphone consists of a here it is the electromagnetic microphone. So there is a coil is there, and there is a magnet is there, and over the magnet one coil is wound, and over the coil there is a one flexible diaphragm. When this flexible, when we speak out in front of the flexible diaphragm, so this flexible diaphragm, due to the pressure of my voice, my pressure of my words, this flexible diagrams moves up and down. And since it moves up and down, then flexible diagram consists of, so moving coil also moves and up and down around the magnet, okay, around the magnet. And due to that there is a voltage, due to electromagnetic induction, then voltage is generated inside across the coil. And this is the output of this coil, which is the very small voltage is generated, and this voltage is given to the amplifier, and then amplifier basically amplify this voltage. Now come to the second block, which is an speaker. Then again, a speaker basically consists of a diaphragm. You can see the diaphragm, and this diaphragm is connected to the coil, and this coil is again wound across the magnet, permanent magnet, and the connection of the coils is also taken out. So the output of the amplifier is given to the coil. So as you can see, input signal is written here, and the sign of the sinusoidal signal is made in the speaker side, and the output of this amplifier is given to this coil. And since the amplifier output amplitude is varying, due to that there is a interaction takes place between the coil and the magnet, and the magnetic field produced by the magnet. And due to the Fleming, and due to this the Fleming rule, basically this coil moves up and down according to the voltage level, and the force is produced between the coil and magnet, and this coil moves up and down, and this makes the diaphragm which is connected at the in the speaker, the diaphragms moves and up moves forward and backward, and due to that, when the noise is created, then sound is created, and that sound is a very large sound is created because it moves very fast. Loud sound is created, and this diaphragm is basically moves up and down, and loud sound is created. So this is the way how this speaker is working. Okay, so this is the output part of my transducer, and this left side is the sensor, which is the input part of my transducer. So this is the basic working of the sensor, that is microphone and speaker. Next, you can see the basic requirements of a transducer. The main function of a transducer is to respond only for the measurement under the specified limit for which it is designed. Exactly. So these are the basic requirements you can go through. That is the ruggedness. Ruggedness means capability of withstanding the overload. Okay. Second is the linearity. That is input output characteristics should be linear. If I am applying the input, then I should get the output immediately. So that is called the linear. If I am changing the input, my output should also change so accordingly. So that is called the linearity. Third one is the repeatability. Should produce the same output signal when the same input signal is applied again and again. That is called repeatability. And the fourth one is the high output signal quality. The quality of the output signal should be good. There should not be any noise. High reliability and stability. And the next one is your seventh one is your good dynamic response, means output should be faithful to input when taken as a function of the time. And the eighth one is no hysteresis. Hysteresis means should not give any hysteresis during the measurement. No, there should not be hysteresis, means residual noise. It should not create a residual noise. That is called hysteresis. And the last one is the residual deformations. Now should be no deformation on removal of the local long period of the application. Okay, so that is called the residual deformations. So these are the basic requirements of an transducer. So generally this may come in the exam. What do you mean by the transducer, and what is transducer, and what are the basic requirements of the transducer? So from here you can write these basic requirements. Your next is your the classifications of transducers. So transducers are basically classified in a four broader way. The first one is the primary and the secondary transducer. Second one is the active and passive transducer. And the third one is the analog and the digital transducers. And the fourth one is transducers and inverse transducers. Okay, so these are the four the broad category of the transducers. So we will study these broad categories one by one. That is the most important type of the classifications of the transducer. So which one is the this one is the active transducers and the passive transducers. So active transducers are known as the photovoltaic, thermoelectric, piezoelectric, and electromagnetic transducers. Basically these kind of the transducers, why these are active? Because they generates the energy, or they generate the energy by its own. That's why these are known as the active transducers. Okay, yeah, you can say that nothing can be generated, nor can be that a law of energy conversion. So nothing can be generated. Whatever they are generating, they are basically converting the one form of energy into another, right? So that's why they are known as the active transducer, because the conversion, whatever I am applied, they are form. So that's why they are known the active transducer. Like as the transistors and the resistors, you know that the transistors are the active devices and the resistors are the passive device. So resistors basically they consume the power basically. Okay, they dissipate the power, whatever volt power is we are applying. But the transistors, they do not dissipate the power. Basically, they convert the power into one form into the another form. That's why they are known the active devices, right? So that's why these are the you know that the photovoltaic cells basically they convert the solar energy into the electrical energy. That's why active transducer, thermoelectric they convert the heat into the electrical energy. That's why they are the thermoelectric. Piezoelectric they convert the pressure into the electrical energy. That's why the electromagnetic also they convert the electric current into the mechanical motions, or mechanical motion into the electric current. That's why they are known the electromagnetic. The same thing is being done by the passive transformer transducers. They also convert one energy into the another energy, but the main difference is that they convert the active transducers basically takes the power from the different media, power from the other than the input source. जो input source है वहां से power ना लेकर के they take the power from the other source and they convert that energy into the another form of the energy. That's why they are the active transducers. But in power passive transducer they take the power from the same source. That's why they are not the passive transducers. So passive transistors have the three broad categories, that is the variable resistance. If you are changing the resistance, then current is changing basically. So they are changing the same source of energy. They are changing the same source of energy. That's why the variable resistance, the optoelectronic means when the energy, the light is fall on some diode basically, so electric current is changes. So basically they are changing their input source only, right? So they are not taking the source from the other, they are not taking the energy from the other source. And variable reactance type of the passive transducers. So I hope you would have understood the passive transducers. So the variable resistance I have again broadly divided into the three parts, that is photoconductors, the strain gauge, and the thermistors. So strain gauge means if strain gauge means if there is a change in the length of any conductor, so their resistance is changing. So resistance is changing means when we pass the electric current, then voltage drop is also changes. So that drop is basically measured, and that is sensed with respect to the change in the length of that conductor. That is the main role of the strain gauge. Similarly, the thermistor, if some heat is applied to the and the resistance is varying for that due to the heat, that and the voltage drop is varying, basically that is known as the thermistor. Similarly, the photoconductors. Another classification is the optoelectronic transducers, that is the photoemissive and the photojunctions. And third one is the variable reactance type of transducers, which is again the passive transducer. So that is a variable reactance is also divided into the two broad categories, that is inductive and capacitive. And capacitive is further divided into variable area and the variable separations and the variable permittivity. So कैपेसिटेंस की हम बात करें तो कैपेसिटेंस के अंदर to in general way there is a two plates and there is a dielectric in between these two. So basically there is a area between the two plates. That's why that is the variable area. Means the spacing between the two plates we are varying. That's why your capacitance is changing. Capacitance is changing means the capacitive reactance is changing, and when we pass the current, then voltage drop is changing. Passive transducer, variable separations and the variable permittivity. In variable area, basically we are changing the plate size of the plates. The size of the, we are talking about the size of the plates. The plate sizes are changing. The metal plates, that's why the capacitive reactance is changing. And these variable separations means the area between the two plates is changing. That's why it is known as the variable separations. And variable permittivity. Variable permittivity means the dielectric constant of the material inside filled between the two plates, that is also changing. That is known as the variable permittivity. Then again, inductive is also divided into the four parts, that is variable inductance, variable permeability, the LVDT, and eddy currents. So these are the basically these are the basically the broad class transducers. So hope you would have understood this. Next is your basically let us further understand the active and the passive transducers. So the definition is the active transducer, the output energy of the active transducers is supplied entirely or almost entirely by its the input signals. Okay. And the passive transducers have an auxiliary source of the power, and this power source is necessary for the operations of the passive. So that is the very important here. यहाँ पे जो डेफिनेशन था कि एक्टिव ट्रांसड्यूसर्स के को ऑपरेट करने के लिए सो दे ऑपरेट द एक्टिव ट्रांसड्यूसर जो ऑपरेट होते हैं वो अपनी ऑलमोस्ट इनपुट सिग्नल से ही ऑपरेट होते हैं जो व्हाट द इनपुट सिग्नल वी आर अप्लाइंग दे ऑपरेटेड बाय दैट इनपुट सिग्नल जो उनको अप्लाई हो रहा है दैट इज द सोलर एनर्जी वी आर अप्लाइंग टू द फोटोवोल्टाइक सेल एंड लाइक दैट ओके. So in active transducer, the output energy of the active transducers is supplied entirely by its input signal. जो input signal हम दे रहे हैं, the same source basically supplies the output energy. But in passive transducer, as I told, the suppose resistance is changing, so that doesn't affect on my output. Basically, we externally supply some energy, that is the volt current we passes through it, and then again voltage drop is changing. That is measured. That's why the passive transistor have an auxiliary source of power. So this have the separate source of power, and this power source is necessary for the operation of the passive transducer. Okay, that is the main difference of these active transducers and the passive transducers. They have the auxiliary source of for the in the passive transducers, while in the active transducers they have the entirely it depends upon the input signal. So that is the main difference between these two. Next, the primary sensing elements. You can see there are the different primary sensing elements. They are picturized in the slide. You can watch here. So this is sometimes called the pickup sensor or transducers. So it detects the physical variables to be measured. Like ये जैसे पहला temperature sensor है, basically it is sensing the change in temperature. Second one is your pressure sensor, is sensing the change in the pressure, and third one is the oxygen sensor. It checks the oxygen level. So it detects the physical variable to be measured, that is the pressure, temperature, rate of flow, etc., and convert the signal into the more usable form. In practice, the physical variable is usually transformed into a mechanical or an electrical signal. So that is the most important. Okay. Next is your analog. The transducers are also subdivided into the two parts, that is the analog and digital part. So as you can see in the diagram, the analog means the first one is the analog, and the digital it is shown. As you can see, when a liquid is filled and there is a thermocouple is placed in the liquid, and is it senses there is a change in the temperature so that at the node, and this produces the voltage across the thermocouple, and that voltage is basically amplified by the signal conditioner or system, and the output is we obtained at the output and obtained an output from the signal conditioner, which is nothing but as the amplifier. So you can see the diagram also with respect to the time, the output is changing. The output is changing with respect to the time. Okay, this is the signal it is shown. Initially at the time t is equal to 0, output is very small, and when the time passes, or the output is increases. Now come to the digital type of the transducers. In digital type of transducers, we have the disc with the slots. You can see एक डिस्क है जो रोटेट करती है और उसमें स्लॉट्स होते हैं. So that यू कैन सी हियर. तो यहाँ पे एक ट्रांसमीटर है और एक डिटेक्टर है, और यहाँ पे जो है डिस्क है उसमें कुछ स्लॉट्स बने हुए हैं. तो जब यहाँ पे एंड द रोटेटिंग देयर इज ए रोटेटिंग शाफ्ट, तो यहाँ पे जब इसको रोटेट करते हैं तो ट्रांसमीटर ट्रांसमिट करता है, डिटेक्टर डिटेक्ट करता है. तो देयर इज ए व्हेन देयर इज ए होल, so that whatever transmitter we are transmitting that is passes to the detector, so it gives the output 1. और जब होल नहीं होता है सामने तो ट्रांसमीटर की एनर्जी ब्लॉक हो जाती है, तो डिटेक्टर में कुछ भी डिटेक्ट नहीं होता है, सो इट गिव्स द 0. तो 0 1, तो लाइक दैट इट गिव्स द वोल्टेज वैल्यू 0 1 0 1. When the light passes from the transmitter to the detector through the hole, there is a hole basically inside the disk, then it gives the output. We obtain the output at the detector, at the output side from the detector. And when there is a no hole, so energy transmitter light put at the detector side, so it represents the 0. So we obtain 0 and 1, and that 0 and 1 voltage is basically is represented at the top basic, and it is given to the digital control or registers. Then it is given to the digital controller, and after the digital controller it is given to the 7 segment display for displaying the information, right? तो यहाँ से you can see the output also. the output is varying with respect to time. So we are getting the different output we are getting. So that is the that you can see from the graph. Okay. So this is the basic difference between the analog and digital. Next is your the you can see there is a next is the active resistive transducer or potentiometer. So resistive transducers, as you can see from the diagram, in the resistive transducer there is a input voltage hyper contact. तो यहाँ पे तो we are just varying the resistance value here. So यहाँ पे different output आपको मिलेगा जब हम इसको जो नॉब को वेरी करते हैं ऊपर और नीचे. Okay, okay, right. So when it is moved entirely at the bottom sides, your output is 0. When it is moved at the top side, output is highest. So this is a translatory displacement type of the transducer. जैसे कोई डिस्प्लेसमेंट होगा तो ये डिस्प्लेसमेंट के हिसाब से रेजिस्टेंस वेरी करेगी, वोल्टेज ड्रॉप वेरी करेगी. तो एक बार तो वोल्टेज ड्रॉप बहुत हाई हो जाएगा, एक बार 0 हो जाएगा वोल्टेज ड्रॉप. सो इस तरीके से दैट इज द मूवमेंट टाइप, दैट इज the disparate, or you can say the movement displacement, or you can movement type is there. Second is your rotational. अब रोटेशनल में आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे एक लीवर है, वो एक रोटेट कर रहा है आउटपुट वोल्टेज में. तो जब ये रोटेशनल मूवमेंट सपोज करो ये लेफ्ट हैंड साइड पे है, 0 पे है बिल्कुल, तो आउटपुट आपका 0 मिलेगा. और आउटपुट आपका जो है हाई मिलेगा बेसिकली व्हेन ये लेफ्ट साइड में 0 पे हो जाएगा. और व्हेन ये निडल रोटेट करके और राइट साइड में आ जाएगा तो उसका मतलब यदि पूरा वोल्टेज इनपुट वोल्टेज पूरा ड्रॉप हो चुका है एंड आउटपुट वोल्टेज इज 0, तो आपको 0 मिलेगा. तो लाइक दैट. सो अनदर इज देयर इज हेलीपोर्ट, एक हेलीपोर्ट भी है. यहाँ पे आपका आउटपुट वोल्टेज इज वेरिंग accordingly. So that's why your output voltage is written as R2 divided by R1 plus R2 into VT. This is the voltage divider formula. तो रजिस्टर ट्रांसड्यूसर्स में इस तरीके से आपका रेजिस्टेंस वैल्यू चेंज हो जाती है और आउटपुट वोल्टेज चेंज हो जाती है. नेक्स्ट इज योर द फ्लूइड लेवल सेंसर विद ए फ्लोट के साथ में. ये आपने देखा होगा अपने घर में जो सिस्टम लगा हुआ होता है. So that is basically a resistive, that is a fluid level sensor. तो यहाँ पे भी आप लगा सकते हैं. जो ये लीवर है, यहाँ पे जो लीवर है राइट साइड में, जो लीवर जब वाटर इसमें फुल हो जाता है तो ये लीवर ऊपर, बैलून ऊपर उठ जाता है. वहां पे आप एक रेजिस्टेंस नेटवर्क लगा सकते हैं. तो जब वो ऊपर की तरफ उठेगा तो रेजिस्टेंस वैल्यू आपकी कम हो जाएगी. सो जब वो नीचे की तरफ पानी जब फ्लश कर देंगे तो ये ऊपर, तो ये नीचे की तरफ चला जाएगा लीवर, तो रेजिस्टेंस वैल्यू ज्यादा हो जाएगी. सो वोल्टेज ड्रॉप आपका मैक्सिमम हो जाएगा. तो दैट्स व्हाई देयर इज आउटपुट वोल्टेज इज मिनिमम. एंड व्हेन पानी जब उसमें पूरा भर जाएगा तो रेजिस्टेंस आपकी मिनिमम हो जाएगी, तो ड्रॉप इज मैक्सिमम. सो विद दिस आल्सो यू कैन मेजर द फ्लूइड लेवल, दैट इज द फ्लूइड लेवल सेंसर विद a float. Here the V is equal to E into